Welcome everyone. Just straighten out the camera here. Yeah, we can all just take a moment to be in this peace. Now we can just stop everything for a moment. Have this holy moment together. Yeah, I woke up this morning and I felt this peace. And I thought, yeah, that's important to strengthen in my own mind. And that seemed like the most important thing to talk about today. Because really somewhere in our heart, if we found A Course in Miracles, we want peace. We've set that as a prayer somewhere in our heart, that we want to find this real peace. And so, whether you were aware of it or not, that must have been a prayer somewhere. And the prayer was answered through receiving A Course in Miracles. And of course that prayer comes from not being at peace. Somewhere we realised we weren't at peace and we wanted to be at peace. Yeah, that's what I find for myself more and more. That this true peace is everything. Particularly when that gets lost, you know, you realise how important peace is. So that's why this time together is very, very important. Just to remember that peace. That's why it's nice just to have this silence together. Sometimes it's easier to just settle in together into the silence. Yeah, this week I've been talking about letting go of the identity. And I think that's what the fear is that actually going into the silence, is that you will let go of your identity. And I invited a group of us to just do that, just to practice that. Just to let go of everything that you identify with. The personality, the body, culture, race. You can let all that go. That's what I'm seeing, the importance of letting go of all of these distractions. You know, why am I doing things? Truly. It has to be for peace of mind. And I think that's what happens the more and more we do. We're just doing things and they're not purposeful. The more they bring me down. And so I'm seeing the importance of actually everything being very, very purposeful. Being more devotional. Using our time wisely. Using our time to be in prayer. More than anything else. And just noticing really where the distractions are. Because you know, the thing is the further along you go, it seems to be obviously the ego has more games to play. And I think what I'd noticed actually is that, like, for some time I wasn't able to be as seemingly peaceful as I once was. I wasn't able to meditate as I could. But what I'm realizing in this very moment is like, well, there was just more clearing to be had. It's just a new door is opened up to be cleared. It's like cleaning the house, isn't it? There's always a room that you put off from other rooms, or a closet or something that needs to be looked after, and eventually you get round to cleaning it, and you feel much better for doing it. And I think that's what happens on this seeming journey, that we undo another door and there's all this mess in there and we're like, oh my God, how do I deal with all this? Because of course the ego's coming along at this point. That's inevitable at the moment. That's just what's occurring. And we're discerning as to what we're listening to, aren't we? And so we recognize that sometimes we're listening to the ego. Sometimes we're listening to the Holy Spirit. That's the game. That's all it is. It is truly a game. And it's not to be taken seriously. That's for sure. And that's what actually I've found that's helped me, because I've seen my mind sort of drop at times. The other day it was like everything seemingly became very, very pointless. And I think that's something that happens to all of us on this journey. At times, whereas we're riding the waves. And yeah, it just became sort of pointless. But I recognised that this was just ego thinking, and really that there's nothing that I can really do about that other than just allow it just to come. And that's exactly what I did. And it actually ends up clearing itself, rather than concerning myself about it, but just letting it happen. You know, feeling like, okay, I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere at the moment. Okay, that's just what's happening. Where's the progression? Okay, well I'm not seeing it. Okay, that's just as it is. That's just what's occurring. But it doesn't have to be judged. And I can just notice my mind, if my mind is drifting off into things. That aren't helpful. And somehow what I think actually is this next sort of phase seemingly feels like it's a much quieter time. And I think that I've been resisting that. And I think that's where the more thoughts have come in, so I haven't been able to focus as I was, because it's like the dedication has gone up or something, and I'm resisting it. That's what it feels like, by being more distracted. And so I do a lot of social media things, and I can see that can become actually, rather than being in function, it's like so many things are happening in social media that I can get very, very distracted by all different things. And it's like I'm being pulled in. That's the name of the game, isn't it? That's what Facebook and these things are all about. They're there to make you stay on their platforms, to be using their platforms, which is fair enough. And of course, and then it's just a mind training exercise for us. So everything gets used. And so, you know, all of a sudden a video comes up and I'm clicking on things, and then the next minute I've been lost for 20 minutes into wherever. And okay, was that helpful? Well, yeah, it was helpful, because now I've got to see it. Was it purposeful? Where is my heart at? But what I think those distractions actually truly were was actually about this silence and about this peace. So that's why I felt like it was important to strengthen that today. Because somehow the theme of devotion has been up high in my mind. I've been listening to Saint Teresa of Avila's autobiography. I'm also reading a book, Sister Claire. She was a young nun, very interesting. And yesterday we watched 2 devotional movies, Mystic India and God is the Bigger Elvis. And God is the Bigger Elvis is about another nun. And I've just sort of been seeing their structure of their day, their prayer and their silence. No distractions. And of course that's a perfect practice, because the ego doesn't want us to really look at what's happening for us. Doesn't want us to face those feelings. And I think that's something that's been happening to me. That it's like time to face something that's more uncomfortable. Yeah, I'm not too sure what that is at the moment. That's why I'm putting it out here now, just as really as a prayer. Just for this stillness, just to be still. And just let the lesson be revealed. So of course I don't know whether any of this is true or not, but it's like I'm just putting it out there. Just to whatever needs to be revealed to me to be revealed. That whatever is blocking my mind to be shown to me. Yeah, because I could see actually some anger came up yesterday, which was really interesting. With a friend here, who was completely unjustified, really. It was a complete misunderstanding. Most definitely complete misperception. And interestingly enough, it was all about being present. We both didn't feel we were being present to one another. And that generated actually in me a lot of anger. And I was very upset. And I'm still not 100% sure why I was completely upset actually. Because it was funny, because I was accused of not being present, and in fact, in truth be known, I wasn't being present. And then I decided to get rageful over that. It was a big trigger. And that conversation ended, and then we came back together, and we were able to laugh at it and just clear it. Which was wonderful. So I'm extremely grateful for that. But there was also, because I'd got angry, there was that charge inside of me, because I was on the edge, to say the least. I was really wound up. And so, of course, the ego wants to say that that's wrong. And that was the interesting thing, because that's what I was working on. I was thinking, okay, how do I know that this is wrong? You know, that I shouldn't have said what I had to say. In terms of the world, it would have seemed like an abusive interaction. But it's like, how do I know that was wrong? Because I'm here to overlook the error in my brother and in myself. That's what true forgiveness is. So I was wanting to see that there was something underneath it. And in actual fact, it was very, very beautiful, because it takes a lot for me to get in touch with my emotions, tears or whatever. And yesterday, as we were watching God is the Bigger Elvis, which is about a nun who was the first person to kiss Elvis on screen. And she was in Hollywood, a real big star. She was going to be. And then she decided to leave Hollywood and become a nun. So a huge transition in her life. And I've watched it several times because I love that documentary. It's very beautiful just to strengthen that devotion in my heart. And I'm not too sure what was touching me, but something was touching me. Yesterday I could feel in the background, I didn't quite cry, but I could feel some emotion was welling up inside of me as I was watching that. And it wasn't until I woke up in the morning. When I woke up in the morning, that's when this peace was there with me. I just felt so peaceful. So I took even longer in my prayer this morning just to really stay with it and just be in deep gratitude of it. Just been, thank you for this peace that I'm experiencing. You know, there was no worry or anything was happening. It was just the pure peace. And so I really, really wanted to honour that. And that's what sparked the idea for this show. And I thought, wow, that was interesting, because from what happened yesterday of being really rageful and worked up and very angry, to then all of a sudden watching the movie and everything was just obviously for me. And then it entered into this peace, and I was able to start to experience some emotion. And I thought, like, yeah, that was just a clearing. It may look messy in form, in the way I dealt with the situation and the way I handled it. I even put my hands up, said it wasn't appropriate. I apologised for what I said. But it was somehow, today I was seeing it as like it was like a burp. It was like it had to come up, you know. And however that looks, you know, we don't analyse our own burps, do we, you know? It's just they come up and that's it, and that's it done. And it was almost like that rage, like somehow that was sitting on my heart and I didn't even realise it, and it had to come out in the way that it had to come out. And that then opened up this space to be able to change something in my mind, to be able to show me something else. And I think actually the important thing is non-judgment. That I was like, okay, I don't want to judge this. Me and my brother have been able to join. We've both said what we've had to say. That's gone. So that's not the problem. The problem's not in form. The only problem is what I'm going to do with it mentally in my own mind. How am I going to now use this? Am I going to use it for the greater good, or is the ego going to use it to bring me down and say I'm failing? Because in actual fact, I think that's what the thoughts have been now I'm sharing it now, like you're failing. That seems to have been what's been running my thoughts in the background, that I'm noticing. You're failing, you're failing, you're failing, you're failing at this, you're failing at that. And it's like I'm observing it, just noticing that. So it's probably no wonder I got rageful, because probably that sort of attack, when it's happening, has to come out somehow. And often that's at someone, often. And it can also be towards ourselves. And so it had to come out. It had to come out somewhere. So I think we can give ourselves permission to allow that, in even how it looks. You know, I think that's what I do with these episodes as well, because once I sort of have the theme this morning, I didn't actually think about it any longer, really. And then it's just seeing what's going to unfold. I don't have to do anything to figure this out, to make something happen here. And as I'm going along, it's like the insights are coming as I'm talking. So it's almost like allowing yourself to stumble along. That's what I think I do. I'm just allowing myself to stumble along, and knowing eventually I'm going to stumble along something that's going to be mind-opening. But it's just not being frightened to make mistakes. Yeah, everything's just a scene in the movie, so it doesn't have to be taken seriously. And if we can allow it up, that's definitely where the peace is. So I was actually thinking about this today, about just sitting with things. And I was just thinking about a really difficult time I had. I was just thinking I was in this relationship, and I felt abandoned within the relationship, and I felt like I was chasing after her, and then I was just feeling more and more abandoned. And it seemed to be this old pattern of rejection. And I'd seen this over and over and over again, and I didn't know the way out. And in actual fact, the best thing that I could actually do was just sit with it. And so eventually, finally, after a long period of time, I decided just to sit with actually how I felt. And I was realising that I really hated sitting with the feeling of rejection. I hated it, absolutely hated it. And so I just actually sat there in the chair and just sat with it. And just let all the feelings come up. And eventually it actually just passed on by. And that was actually a great turning point for me, because it actually cleared so much. And then I stopped that actual habit of feeling abandoned and being rejected. and feeling somehow there was some sort of loss, literally just by sitting with how I actually felt. And so it seems like this is sort of like this next phase that is happening, is to actually stay more in the silence and to actually just sit with it. So maybe this is the permission that we're giving one another. And particularly, as you know, in most places the evenings are getting a bit darker. It's getting a bit colder. And so it seems natural that it's more of an inward time. So maybe we can give ourselves permission for that. More time for reflection. Yeah, just giving myself permission to really focus on what's really, really happening. Yeah, just to spend more time with God, really. Going into a deeper listening. Yeah, wanting this peace above everything else. And for me, it's like not getting caught up in things that I don't need to get caught up in. Stay very, very focused on the goal. the goal of peace. Maybe we can set that intention for this week. Have that as our heart's desire, to want peace above everything else. And when we don't feel that peace, give ourselves permission to come back into our heart. And whatever it takes to keep coming back, that's what we shall do. To strengthen that together. And you can remember this and know that we're doing it together. That you're not on your own in this. It's interesting actually when I've been reading Saint Teresa of Avila and her saying, you know, the importance of actually sharing the practice with others around her that are on the journey. You know, share all the ego thoughts so you're not holding on to them. Share your inspiration. Share your devotion so you can strengthen it in your own mind. Practice together. And it doesn't matter where we are, we can always practice that together. In a way, this is beautiful that we have this time in the digital age where we can connect anywhere in the world and know that we're doing this together. Just to put peace above everything else. And whatever's not that, know that we're clearing it together, because it's not personal. It's not even your own dilemma. And maybe we'll end with a prayer. Well, I just opened the book, so I'll just read from where I'm at. This seems pretty relevant. So you can just take this inward. Let me remember love is happiness, and nothing else brings joy. And so I choose to entertain no substitutes for love. Love is my heritage, and with it joy. These are the gifts my Father gave to me. I would accept all that is mine in truth. Today I will accept God's peace and joy in glad exchange for all the substitutes that I have made for happiness and peace. let my own feeble voice be still, and let me hear the mighty voice, for truth itself assures me that I am God's perfect Son. That was lessons 117 and 118. The perfect words from the Master. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining me. Let's stay in this deep prayer of peace together. Let's want peace above everything else. Know that we're doing it together. And let's expect miracles. And to see with true perception. So many blessings, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.